So I want to, revisit, this Chad Wheeler story. Now, you remember the Zaddy named Chad Wheeler that was on the Seattle Seahawks football team, and he ended up almost killing, his black girlfriend. Now, she details exactly what happened, what led up to that. And we want to talk about this story because she recently went on Tamron Hall to talk about it. But you remember, anytime a black man would do anything, this media, would just run it in a loop. Do you remember Ray Rice? And Ray Rice, had an altercation with his, at the time girlfriend, but they ended up getting married later, right? And they were running that in a loop. What happened with Ray Rice? Ray Rice, got kicked out of the NFL. He never was to be able to come back. Anytime a brother do something in the NFL, or it's mostly the NFL, I've noticed most on the NBA, they just run it in a loop, I remember the last major, there's a few scandals in the NBA they had, like, with Kobe cheating, that situation. Magic Johnson, he put out that he had HIV. Anything with a black man, they're going to run in the loop. But they've been so quiet with this story. And Alleah says that she's not going to be quiet. She wants everybody to know what happened. Now, before I get started with any of this, I just know, social media that we, know of Alleah trashing brothers. It's nothing to her out there saying that, the Zaddies are better than brothers. There's nothing out there. So I'm not accusing her of that. But when I talk about these stories, I'm combating a propaganda online that tries to say, well, Zaddy is the, is the grass is greener on that side, and nothing could happen, and they got so much money, and they can protect me, and they got that lie. Okay, that's what we're combating here, and we're using real world things that happen to say, okay, what about this, right? So Alleah talks about, what I'm reading here, she said there was blood. She said when she touched her face, she said it was a lot of blood. She said my head was pounding. She said my entire body. She said everything felt fuzzy. She said, she was questioning if she was dead. And she says there was no way she felt that she could survive all of that. He said, yeah, he said she opened her eyes. He said he was there. Now, Chad, her boyfriend, was standing in the doorway of her room slurping that smoothie, she said. She said, I was still breathing, but the nightmare was far from over. He says, wow. He said, in between sips, you're still alive. Now, she said their relationship started like most do now. She said Chad had liked all her Instagram pictures and slid into her DMs. She said, I'm not big on football, so I never, even heard of him. But a quick Google search, you say, revealed he was a big deal in the NFL. He said offensive tackle. Well, he's not a big deal. I mean, someone like a Lamar Jackson, that's a big deal. Not an offensive tackle. Nobody knows who an offensive tackle is. But at the same time, she know nothing about sports, okay? So I'll give her that. She said they met up a week later. Said it felt, like a destiny. She said that we are both Capricorns and saying we like the same music in the movie Tropic Thunder. Okay. Oh, boy, now this getting into her mindset. Now, do you remember Tropic Thunder? If you ever seen that movie, Robert Downey Jr., Mr. Iron Man himself, played a black character. Like he was basically in what you call blackface. And that's interesting that they both like Tropic Thunder. And as a black woman, she wasn't offended by that. Now, of course, today, Robert Downey Jr. would never get away with that movie. Now, she said we start spending all our time together, going on, pandemic walks, cooking. He's in babysitting her nephew. He said, I love you. And I said it back. Said when he called me his soulmate, I felt the same. Okay. You ought to know something is wrong when a dude you just met say, I love you. Just like if a woman you just meet say, I love you, like, you don't even know me. I mean, you don't even know what my farts smell like. You ain't seen me pissed off. You don't know anything about me. You don't know my bad habits. You don't know anything. How could you love me in a doggone week? That's when she knew something was wrong with him. Well, she should have known. They say by the time Thanksgiving rolled around, say, I never felt happier. She said, or more complete. I didn't want any presents at Christmas time. She said, because I already had everything I wanted. She said that day, the day that changed everything, she said, started out so normal. She said, before leaving work, she said, I got Chad, who was still sleeping, a glass of water. They say I lit a soothing eucalyptus scented candle and whispered, "Get some rest." Because of his position in football, he takes a lot of hits, and I wanted the bedroom to be like a sanctuary. He said a safe space. My mission was to make him feel as comfortable as possible. He said after I got to work, Chad texted me a selfie. His head was shaved because this dude had long hair. He said, you have to understand his hair was his identity. He said he had this, according to her, this gorgeous, silky, flowing mane. I'm like, no. Okay. Anyway, she said to say it was his pride and joy is an understatement. He said now the look it was shocking. She said completely out of character. Something was off. And so I raced home to check on him. Instead of staying at work and making your money, you worrying about a grown man that decided to cut his hair. But okay. She said, is everything okay? This is not like you. So he tried to brush it off like it was just a haircut, which it was. He said, then he started to cry. So I hated seeing him so sad. So consoling him did nothing. He said, neither did hugging. He said, we were supposed to fly to Hawaii for a vacation the next morning. She said, so I kept reminding him tomorrow we'll be in paradise. He said, after the food arrived, Chad went to the bedroom. She said, when I came in, he was an entirely different person. Now, she says that he demanded I bow down. He said, and it threw me off. He said, because he had never asked me to do something like that before. He said, I backed up and asked why. He said it again. And he said the look in his eyes, a look of determination, was terrified. And the next thing I knew, he grabbed my neck and slammed me on the bed, and he started to strangle me. That's what she said. So he wanted her to bow down. He also wanted her to call him master. He wanted to have his plantation relationship with her. See, look, this just my opinion. Just my opinion. For me, just as a black man, that particular group of women was never an option for me because in society is too much trouble with them, for one. You have one of them and this racist police is all jealous, and then now he's just messing with you or pulling you over. Listen, I've talked to many black people and also white folks that have said that. I'm talking about when it's a black man, white woman relationship, if the white woman is considered attractive, not the ones that's busted up and tore up the white man don't want, okay? Also, the history of that any little thing that she could say would just be automatically believed. I don't like the power dynamics of that. I don't like the history of any of that. So I always, knew that was never an option for me in the area of dating or anything like that. And the same thing, just my opinion, should be the same thing for black women. Because if you go through the history and see how black women were treated, all the experiments were done on black women in this country, by that group of men, like, why would that even be an option? It's just my opinion. My opinion. Do what you want, because I don't need you telling me, I don't want to hear it. I don't care, because at the end of the day, once you stop watching this video, that's the end of my opinion with you, right? So she says that after the food, she said, okay, let me go down. She said that when he strangled her, he said, please, Chad. She said, it's me. He said he stuffed his fingers in her mouth and choked her with his other hand. She said she tried to twist out of his grip, but he yanked my arm back, and that's when everything went black. She said when she woke up, she was staring at the ceiling. He said, but before I could move, he was on me again. He said, I lost consciousness. When I came to, I ran past him into the bedroom, locked the door, and called the police. I didn't know how much time I had left. She says, I could hear him in the living room eating dinner like nothing happened, still drinking a smoothie. He said, this was who I wanted to spend the rest of my life with. He said, the person I love the most in the world. He said, the man I talked about having a baby with. Well, thank God you didn't do that. Because my God, let me tell you something. Whether it's a woman or a man, you need to pay attention to the mindset and the DNA of these people you have children with. Because let me tell you something. You'd have a baby with that fool, that same crazy and all the other DNA that's in that fool could transfer over to your child. She said, so why was he doing this? That's what she's saying. Say, I'm not sure I ever noticed it, but I won't let him get away with it. Now, she said the doctors were surprised that she survived at all. They said her humerus bone was broken, her elbow dislocated, She suffered a concussion. She had lesions on her throat where he strangled her. A blood vessel burst, and she aspirated fluids. She said, my whole body was bruised. I vomited blood for hours. She said, Chad left his fist marks all over my face. But when you get online and you talk about Zaddy is so much better than black men, and they would never do this to you. Well, this is a black woman telling you what Zaddy done to her. Vomiting blood for hours. Man, I couldn't even imagine that. He said, there hasn't been a single night I haven't woke up in cold sweats. He said, especially knowing that he's out on bail. She said, I can't help but to think that if he did this to me with so much to lose, what would he be willing to do to me now with nothing to lose? She said, when she gets scared, she pray. She focuses on positive things that I can control as a way to stay grounded. She said, I like incense and burn sage and take care of my plants. She said, anything to stay calm. So her survival, means something. She said she find purpose now in wanting to, help people. And she says that, she won't let the people know they're not alone. Now, let me tell you, just remind you that he was arrested and then he was charged with first degree domestic violence, assault, and unlawful imprisonment and resisting arrest. But he should have been charged with attempted murder. But, like I said, the only reason he wasn't charged with attempted murder, well, we all know why, his skin color. But we were putting this out here and letting you just know the full thing what this, sister in our community went through, that when you sit up here and, talking about Zaddy and what he not going to do and how he's so much better and he got so much money and he got this and he got that. See, you got to tell the truth. You got to tell the truth. Shaving his head. I mean, what, did he get involved with some of these white supremacists? You know what I'm saying? He went from one way to shaving his head and then now telling you bow down and call him master and you didn't do it. And all of a sudden he's trying to kill you. Well, we just saying, and like I said, don't allow, these stories to be avoided when the propaganda is out there. I don't think that it should be no propaganda to say any other group is better than black women. It should be no propaganda to say any other group is better than black men. Do we have problems with each other? Sure, we do. We do. But it's not nothing I deem as always so horrible. I think the invention of social media makes things bigger than what they are. And, some people, they get paid off of just keeping a division going. Even the mainstream media get paid way more money than any of us on YouTube to keep a division going. Because some people don't want to see black men and black women coming together. They want to keep on just poking the bear and doing this and doing that and collecting a check. And that's fine. But one thing that I said I would never do, I will never sit here and allow certain propaganda to go on not unchallenged, right? So Alleah found out the hard way. Now, I don't know if she's going to continue looking for that persuasion of man, or is she going to, look to the brothers? I don't know. We don't know. Only time will tell. But from what I've, seen over the years, when they have an experience like this, usually they become the most pro-black. But, leave me a comment. Let me think about a situation with, Alleah Taylor and her experience with Chad Wheeler. This dude was 6'7", 310 pounds, doing this to a small woman that could not defend herself. And yes, that should have been considered a hate crime because of what he was saying to her. And everyone else, especially right now, they're talking about the Asian community. Any little thing you say to an Asian now is a hate crime. But, when you do things to black people, definitely nothing is called a hate crime.